and welcome to episode 37 of the podcast devoted to the classic and sometimes not-so-classic genre cinema of yesteryear. This is the Bride of Monster Kid Radio. My name is Derek M. Cook. I'm your writer, host, and producer of this here show, and the music that we're hearing right now, it's the song Devil's Dip. It's from the band The Garys. It's from their album Get Thee to a Nunnery. You can find out more about them at thegarys.bandcamp.com or go to thegarysband.com. Gary is spelled with two R's. Go check them out from their website. The Garys are a trio of sisters from the coldest part of the landlocked Canadian prairies. And they make surf music. Go check them out and let them know that you heard about them here on Bride of Monster Kid Radio when you're done listening to this episode. What do we have lined up for this episode? Of course, we got Mark Matzke's Beta Capsule review, and we're going to get to that here in a second. But this is another week where we are flashing back to the 2025 Summer Monster Bash Conference. Monster Bash, man, if you've not been, you are missing out. I know that I've been missing out because I haven't been able to go for the past several years. Fortunately, listener Mike R. goes every time, and he brings a recorder with him, and he captures as much audio as possible for us here at Bride of Monster Kid Radio, and this week, we're playing some of that audio. He sat in on the Q&A with a Dark Shadows actress, Sharon Smyth Lentz. She played Sarah Collins in the classic television show Dark Shadows, which I know we don't talk a lot about on here. I really wish we could, but there's so much of it. To get into Dark Shadows would be a massive undertaking. And fortunately, there are some amazing podcasts out there like the Tarot Collinwood that do a phenomenal job at it. But hey, Monster Bash brought in somebody from Dark Shadows. How cool is that? So we've got the Q&A with Sharon Smyth, and that's going to be coming up here shortly. Now, we've got Mark Matzke's Beta Capsule review. I mentioned that previously. Mark Matzke is now into episode 50 of Ultraman Ace. I know I keep saying it. Ultraman Ace, my second favorite Ultraman series, and this episode, actually I really like this episode of Ultraman Ace. I don't want to spoil what Mark's going to talk about. You're going to hear from him here in a second. Before we get into the rest of the show, I want to give everybody a heads up, a reminder that Bride of Monster Kid Radio is going to be at the 2025 Gathering of the Ghouls, which is a horror convention put on by Terror Trader, which is a local, to me, Arizona-based horror store. The third annual Gathering of the Ghouls takes place September 20th and 21st at the Rawhide Event Center in Chandler, Arizona. Beth and I are going to go. We've got media passes, so we're going to be there with our recorder, getting as much as we possibly can for future episodes of the podcast, and who knows what else. Some of the guests that are going to be there include Jennifer Rubin and Ken Sagos from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Amanda Bierce from Fright Night. We've got Alex Vincent from Child's Play, William Ragsdale from Fright Night, Stephen Jeffries from Fright Night, and one of my favorite Jason Voorhees performers, CJ Graham. I know this isn't golden age of horror stuff at Gathering of the Ghouls, and we're going to keep our eyes and ears open and wave our tentacles around until we can find somebody to talk about classic horror while we're there. But really, the stuff that's being celebrated at Gathering of the Ghouls has its roots in the kind of things that we talk about here on Bride of Monster Kid Radio. The core of horror, so to speak, began with the golden age of horror cinema, 30s, 40s, 50s, sometimes 60s, and so on. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be coming up, like I said, in September. And also, since we're talking about things that are coming up, the Ray Harryhausen Miniature Models of the Silver Screen exhibit will be opening up at the Mini Time Machine Museum of Miniatures September 30th through May 3rd of next year. Beth and I will be making time to get there. We're also going to be making time to go see a screening of Jason and the Argonauts happening on Saturday, October 4th at the Loft Cinema in Tucson, Arizona. There will be a Q&A with Connor Haney, the collections manager of the Ray and Diana Harryhausen Foundation, and the daughter of Ray Harryhausen, Vanessa Harryhausen. That's happening on the afternoon of Saturday, October 4th. Tickets are available for sale right now. And we're going to make that happen. That's going to be a lot of fun, too. We are slowly finding our place here in the American Southwest. We're going to continue to work to bring classic monster material to you and to the people that live around here through what we do here at Bride of Monster Kid Radio and Team Death. But for For now, what you're going to get is this episode. And we're going to get to that Q&A with Sharon Smyth Lentz right after you hear from Mark Matzke's Beta Capsule review right after this.
Make your Halloween season extra special this year. Join other fans of monster movies from across the nation at the Monster Bash Conference, October 10th through the 12th at the Pittsburgh Marriott North. It's a 3-day festival celebrating classic horror and science fiction films. Guests of honor include Gary Clark, the teenage werewolf in the film How to Make a Monster, actress Barbara Wilson from the movies Invasion of the Animal People, Blood of Dracula, The Flesh Eaters, and more. Plus, from the original Dark Shadows TV show, meet Catherine Lee Scott and Sharon Smith. John Russo, the co-writer and actor from the original Night of the Living Dead, will be set up too. TV producer Bill Diamond will be shooting footage for his documentary series on monster book and magazine cover artist Basil Gogos, and have a great display of original art. Get autographs and enjoy a 3-day film festival and special events. Explore over 100 vendor tables with vintage monster toys, comic books, monster magazines, Blu-rays, DVDs, monster t-shirts, model kits, original movie posters. The Marriott will be bursting at the seams with cool stuff from our childhood. Admission can be purchased for $25 a day at the door or $60 for all 3 days. You can save more by ordering your 3-day admission in advance at monsterbash.us. That's monsterbash.us. Monster Bash, the conference and expo, October 10th through the 12th, 2025 at the Pittsburgh Marriott North. If you want to stay, ask for the special Monster Bash rate at the Marriott.
This is Barnabas Collins. He lives in a strange world, a world of vampires, werewolves, and dark shadows. Now the world of Dark Shadows is yours in a strange new game by Milton Bradley, the Barnabas Collins Dark Shadows game. Each player spins, then selects bones from the coffin. But watch out for the dreaded stake. You struggle to complete a skeleton that glows in the dark. If you win, the curse of the vampire is yours. Win the game, you get a set of Barnabas fangs. Milton Bradley makes the best games in the world, and the Barnabas Collins game is the scariest. So get it.
Live from the Land of Light in Nebula M78, home of the mighty Ultra Heroes, it's Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review. Ultraman Ace, Episode 50. Tokyo, Great Panic, the Mad Traffic Signals. A routine patrol leads to a traffic accident for Hokuto and Yamanaka, during which it seemed as though the traffic signal malfunctioned. While speaking with the driver of the other vehicle, Tak learns that all of Tokyo's traffic signals have gone haywire, leading to a massive amount of accidents and civil unrest. A disembodied voice rings out over the chaos, telling listeners to leave Tokyo immediately. It's the herald of the alien Laboral, who reveals they hold terrible monster Signalian on standby as a further threat. The Laboral proceeds to unleash beam weapons from the traffic signals that alternately cause burning, freezing, or insanity. Tak traces, locates, and destroys Laboral's control center, but it's too late. Signalian begins its rampage, vaporizing buildings with a tricolor beam. Hokuto takes to the rooftops to get a good shot at the monster's eyes, but Signalian lashes out, destroying the high-rise. Is there time to call upon Ultraman Ace? Episode 50, which premiered March 16, 1973, is skillfully executed building a suspenseful and disturbing story on the premise of what happens when everyday technology becomes weaponized. Not only is the traffic signal failure made personal as the viewer learns the circumstances of the family involved in the TAC accident, but also the collapse of social safety is shown fairly explicitly, with bodies hanging out of car windows and citizens at violent odds with one another. Signalion is neither the greatest nor the worst monster design of the series. Its appearance at least doesn't undermine the real horror of how thin the veneer of civilized society can truly be. For Monster Kit Radio's Beta Capsule Review, this is Mark Matzke reporting.
He's the goingest ghost you've ever met. This ghost of Dragstrip Hollow. He's got the Hot Rodders Vavoomin and the Hepcats Zoomin.
She your chick? Well, I'd like to think so. You know, she prefers hot rods instead of hot romances.
That's because it's easier to handle cars.
This chick does all right with romance, too. But nothing stops this pirate's bird, who learned his tricks from the ghost of Dragstrip Hollow. Anybody want to kiss a duck?
There's a perfectly rational explanation for all this.
Hepcats and Hot Rodders, they're all alive to the jive.
The moon sheds no light on the dark mysteries of Colin's house. Within the sinister walls are hidden secrets that torment the inhabitants and fill their lives with fear. Ghosts haunt the musty corridors, and legend predicts shocking events. Townspeople say that Colin's house is a good place to stay away from. Strange things have happened there, and are happening still. It is to this isolated old mansion high on Widow's Hill that 20-year-old Victoria Withers has come to probe the mystery of her past. Her curiosity plunges her into a gothic world of luck, hate, revenge, and terror. Be sure to watch Dark Shadows every weekday afternoon on ABC.
We are so happy tonight to have with us from Dark Shadows, Sharon Smyth Lentz, and moderating, John Bishop. Come on up, folks.
So I promised Sharon I would not make her do this, and I don't want her to be mad at me. But I thought that I have a question, I don't have a prize. We're just going to ask, does anyone remember what Sarah's favorite song was? So could we sing, you send it to your husband if you want to. Can we do a round of London Bridge for Sharon, please?
You guys did sing to me for a year.
We'll have Kevin Slick's going to start us off, so thank you, Ken.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady.
Better you than me. It's been 50 50 plus years, no second verses, sorry.
So that was really great. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got the role on Dark Shadows?
Absolutely. I was joking earlier with some of the guests that came to my table. I was 10 years old when I did this show, and I've been telling the same stories on podcasts and interviews and newspaper interviews for years and years and years, and I sometimes worry that people get tired of hearing the same stories over and over again, but that's all I have. So if you heard it before, I apologize, but I have to tell the truth, so it's not going to change too much from the first time you heard it. But when I was, first of all, I'm from Philadelphia. And as luck would have it, I had no aspirations of being an actress or in television, anything like that. No aspirations at all. In fact, we're talking about I was 5 years old when this happened. My mother, who was a homemaker, my father, who was a factory worker, had no aspirations either of my being in the acting field or anything like that. But my mother crossed paths with a woman who happened to be a personal agent for young children. And they crossed paths, and this woman, Florence Creasy, said to my mother, "Did you ever think about putting her in commercials?" And my mom said, "No." You have to understand, at that time, at 5 years old, I was very petite for my age. I had long brown hair. My mother never cut my hair. And I had freckles. And this was in the 60s. I was born in 57. You do the math. Somebody's doing the math for me. So, they exchanged phone numbers, but believe me, my mother never gave it a second thought. About a month later, my mother got a phone call from this woman and said, "Would you consider taking Sharon up to New York for an audition?" And I have no idea what my mother was thinking, but she agreed to do it. This was way out of my mom's wheelhouse. But my father encouraged her, and she took me up for this audition, and we went into this New York building, and there was a ton of little girls there. And I don't remember how many children were picked for this particular commercial, but I got the job. And I think that it was not because I was any great actress or anything like that. I just fit the look they were looking for. The braids, the dark hair, the freckles. And I got this job, and it was the best thing ever. It was the Sugar Pops cereal. Now, they since changed the name to Sugar Bear because, no, Honey Bear, thank you, because sugar is not a popular thing to sell children's cereal with anymore. But at the time, it was Sugar Bear. And I loved Sugar Bear. I was just a little kid. And what they had us do, it was supposed to be a mock bank robbery. And the bad guys were there. It was very comical. It was very slapstick. You can find it online, as a matter of fact. Somewhere a fan sent it to me. I hadn't seen it since that day that I made it. And honestly, I so enjoyed it. But, little kids running around in a circle screaming, I know what little kid doesn't want to do that. They tell you to do this, they feed you sugary cereal, and, and they pay you for it. So what's not to love? Now, I have to tell you, if you do ever see it, that commercial, which was very fun to watch for me, as well as to do it, would never float in this day and age. Everything was wrong with it. It had violence, and if it had sugar in it, it was slapstick. It would never float this day, but fun to do. So to answer your question, how did things start? That is exactly how things started. Now from that, I started to do commercials on a fairly regular basis, and then I did some runway modeling and pre-ads and some voiceovers for things like toys that were coming out. I did American Soup. I think it was not Campbell's. It was something called American Soup. I remember it had a blue label on it. And laundry detergents that don't even exist anymore and things like that. But I seem to be getting back-to-back jobs. So, this was fun. And my mother, being a homemaker, was free to go up to New York. You would go to auditions. Sometimes you got them, sometimes you didn't get them. But again, I think I had to look for the time, and I got lucky. I got a lot of work that way. I got an audition. You have to understand, when you start going to auditions, one's like another. They're the same deal. And you go in, there's a bunch of people standing there, they ask you some questions, there's 100 little girls of all shapes and sizes. Sometimes they know what they're looking for, sometimes they don't know what they're looking for, they'll know it when they see it. And I went for an audition, and it happened to be soap opera Search for Tomorrow. Now I was about 7 years old when this happened, and Search for Tomorrow was a live 15-minute soap opera. Happens to be one of my mother's favorite soap operas. I think it came on at 11:30 to 11:45, or 11:45 to noon, but I remember that was Mom's routine. So she was thrilled to death that I got this. And the character's name was Susie Carter, and I was the adopted daughter of, it's a nice couple, but I had asthma. So much like my dying scene at Dark Shadows, I got to not die, but have an asthma attack. And this is my big acting career. I had an asthma attack as a 7-year-old, and they shipped me off to Arizona, and I was never seen in the show again. You see a theme here? You know. So that was my first soap opera experience. And then, we did a couple things in between with modeling and commercials. I did Sears Catalog and JCPenney and all that stuff. And then I went on an audition. Happened to be for Dark Shadows. Neither me at 9 years old or my parents had any idea what Dark Shadows was. And it was already on TV for a year or so, something like that. Already had a following. But it was out of our wheelhouse. We didn't know anything about that. We went on the audition, and there was a zillion little girls there of all shapes and sizes, as usual. And didn't think too much of it. Got a call back to come back another time. Came back in, there were less little girls. Came back a third time, and there was 2. And I happened to know the other little girl. She had already been a ghost. By this time, I knew it was a ghost. Not that made a difference here or there. But the other little girl I knew had already been a ghost on something like Wagon Train or something like that. And her name was Eileen Burrell. And she was very waif-like, very thin, long blonde hair, pale as all. And she's gonna get the part of me. Come on, I'm like this fresh face, frickly, dark hair. Lo and behold, I did get the part. And in retrospect, I sometimes think to myself, maybe the reason they picked me over her is because, in general, I kind of looked a little bit more like Joan Bennett's character, who ultimately would be my mother in When They Go Back in Time, Naomi. And kind of like Alexandra Mulkey, who was Victoria Winter, who we ultimately assume was also a family member. Right, no spoilers here. And Jonathan, he was Duke. So I don't know, that's just the thing in Navy. That was what they saw that thought that I would fit in. And I've said this a million times. I was not an actress, per se. I mean, when you're doing commercials and voiceovers and print ads, you're following direction. That's what you're doing. I never went to an acting class. I never had any formal training. I was just being me. People tell you what to do when you're that age, and I was very compliant. Stand over here, do that, look up there, say this, 1 and 2 lines. You do it. And it wasn't hard. It was fine. I'm sorry to disappoint. I have no bad stories. No horrible, awful things that I'm going to write a book about. There's nothing like that. All of my experience in the business was good. Nice people, treated well. I have nothing bad to say. I'm sorry to say, but some people feed on that. They're like, tell us you were abused. I was not abused. Tell us your mother was a pushy stage blabber. She was far from it. She was not at all. In fact, after Dark Shadows, well, I did say I got the part, whatever, and the rest is history. But when Dark Shadows was done, when that storyline was done, life went on. I still didn't really think of Dark Shadows as being anything more than just another project that I worked on that, whatever. And after that, I did a few more commercials, a little bit of modeling. But I was on the show, I turned 10 while I was on the show. And by the time that I was 13 years old, I had a bad attitude. I was a cranky, hormonal teenager. And I just said to my parents, I don't do this anymore. I don't want to eat what they want me to eat. I don't want to smile when they tell me to smile. I don't want to go up to New York. I just don't want to do this anymore. I want to be normal. I want to go home to Philadelphia. I want to hang out on the corner with my friends. And she went, okay. That's how pushy my mother was, you know. And my father was like, if the kid doesn't want to do it, the kid doesn't want to do it. It was a great experience. Life goes on, you know. So that was the whole substance of my whole career, Reader's Digest version. I didn't do anything for years. And I guess I was about 25 years old. I'm never asked your question, all right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My husband will tell you, hand the girl a microphone and just like, go get a cup of coffee. I'm sorry, I don't get out like nothing. So a little bit of early onset Alzheimer's. You'll be telling me what I did 4 years from now. I turned 25 years old, and something inside of me was bubbling, and I wanted to be a part of it again. I wanted to, you know, put my toe back in the water. And I started to do community theater because it was available to me, and I could do that. And oh my gosh, I fell in love. It was the whole camaraderie of the production itself, the rehearsals, the music and the musicals, and it just, I loved it. So I did that for a number of years. I'd say probably 7 years I did that. And then I got married. And then I had babies. I had my first child at 34 years old, and my emphasis was my family. My husband wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom, and I gave that 100%. My children were, well, I ended up having 2 children, but, you know, so there was years that I didn't do anything creative like that, because this was what I was doing creative. This was my production. By the time my children didn't need me so much anymore, I started to be involved in with other people who were young and creative, writers, directors, producers, doing independent films. And by chance, once again, I did not go looking for it. It came across my path. And I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that there's a reason. So these people asked me if I would be involved in their project, and they wanted to use my name as a hook. Speak from Dark Shadows is in our movie. Okay. I didn't need the publicity because I'm not in business at this time. But if that helps you to further your project, I was more than happy to apply my name to it. So I did a few independent films, and again, I just was consumed with the thrill of being on set. Whether I was in front of the camera, behind the camera, I told a couple of these producers, I'll empty the trash can, just let me be here. You know, just let me be involved. I'll run to the store and get the hoodies for everybody, you know. I ended up being in a couple of them, but there's a couple of them that I'm behind the scenes, and that's fine with me. Still a part of, and that is thrilling to me. Doesn't sound like I get out much, does it? In the last 4 years, at all this time, from the 80s, I guess, or maybe the 90s, 86, I started doing conventions. Yet during this time, I would be invited to Dark Shadows conventions in New York City, and I would go to those. And I think this was the first time that I was made aware of the fact that Dark Shadows still was significant. Because my life was going on over here. I had nothing to do with Dark Shadows until I went to this convention. In fact, I was invited to this convention. At first, I thought someone who was trying to pull the wool over my eyes, trick me, punk me, whatever you want to call it. I was like, you're right, okay, Dark Shadows. That was a long time ago, nobody cares. And they were like, no, seriously, we're having this luncheon, you gotta come, Jonathan's gonna be there. And I was like, okay. And I went, and I have to tell you this funny story. When I went in, there was a lot of people milling around. Jonathan wasn't there yet. And I walked in, it was an Italian restaurant, and they told me where the party was in the back. And, you know, there was probably, I don't know, 50 people there, whatever. I'm not sure. And the lady that was in charge said, the table up front is for actors only from the show. You can sit anywhere else. And I said, okay. So I walked up the side and I went and I took a seat at that table. And she came flying up to me. You can't sit there. You can't sit there. I told you, this is only for actors. And I went, I was Sarah Connors. Oh my gosh, this poor woman turned 12 shades. Now you have to understand, the last time she probably saw me, I was a kid. And now I had short red hair, and I was young and thin. And, like, I don't know, I wasn't 30 yet, I was in my 20s, but whatever. So it was obvious the poor woman had no clue. In fact, I had gone to the ladies' room before I went in there, and there were people in there talking about the actors of Dark Shadows. They had no idea who I was, which I think is awesome. I love it. I can't do that anymore now. They all go, oh, that's that lady with the white thing, I kind of stick out like a Kington. But, so yeah, I mean, that's been my experience up till now. I love to come out. I don't do it that often anymore because the last 4 years I've been 100% caretaker for my husband. He became disabled and it's just been a nightmare. But again, my priorities are personal ones, and at home is the priority, which I have no qualms about at all. That's the way it's supposed to be. But when I get opportunities like this once in a while to come out and be reminded once again that Dark Shadows' longevity and the fans' loyalty is unmatched. I mean, we're talking 58 years since I was on the show. Like, that's crazy for an afternoon soap opera, half an hour soap opera. Dark Shadows, there was over 1,200 episodes. I believe it's 1,225, but don't quote me on that. Is that close enough? Yeah, I always just say over 1,200. It was the first soap opera ever to be, what's the word? Syndicated. Thank you very much. Let's get past my bedtime. To be syndicated, the first soap opera ever that I'm aware of that was put out of VHS tapes. I mean, right from the beginning, Dark Shadows broke a lot of barriers, crossed a lot of bridges, did a lot of things that people thought were a little crazy. But sometimes a little crazy is a good thing, which is why I'm still coming out. But no, I mean, I love to come out and meet new people, and I've met college students that have just started watching Dark Shadows. I've met third-generation people that their grandmom was an original run home from school to watch Dark Shadows. Even the 91 series that was good, just didn't last very long, and the Johnny Depp movie, which I have my own personal opinions about that we can talk about privately. But all I can say is it's not my Dark Shadow. But anyway, even that brought attention. Some people went because it was Johnny Depp or whatever, and I heard conversations where they would say, somebody said this is based on something else, like something that was on TV, and I go, oh yes. I said, go to your library, read out a couple copies, and trust me, you will get hooked. Yes, it's a little dated compared to what we're used to, but trust me, the writing is excellent. Even the characters, actors, I mean, they put their all into this. You have to understand, this was the next best thing to live. This was what they called live to tape. There were no do-overs. It was too expensive to stop and try to do it again. You kept going. You made a mistake, you kept going, which is why there are blooper films now. Just the Dark Shadows of snap little ends that happen. I feel, give it that extra warm, cozy feeling. It's like, it's not perfect. No, it's not perfect, but it's damn good. Oh, here. The scenery. I mean, Tomasov, is it Tomasov? What he did with the scenery, I was there. I know what it looked like. The studio was very narrow, very long, and they were sets after sets after sets with nothing but a wall between them. You went from a foyer that looked, glorious to a study, to a cemetery, to a bar. Like, they were next to each other, but you would never know that. I saw it, I was there, I tripped over it, like I know what was there. But even when I watch it, knowing what I know and knowing the ending to plots and the behind the scenes and all that, I'm like, I'm still sucked in by it. I mean, it's, what's gonna happen? Oh my gosh, and it draw things out. And I mean, it's not today's standards, but it works. It works. Come on, it works. You guys are here. Now, that ensemble of actors and actresses that were on Dark Shadows were handpicked. It just was, again, no coincidences. That cast was handpicked, maybe by God himself, to put together. You had newbies there that were just coming out of acting school. You had stage theater professionals there. A movie star. I mean, Joan Bennett was the real deal. She was a movie star from the get-go. The combination of actors and what they each brought can never be duplicated. I'm headstrong about this. People talk about reboots and redos and yada yada. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. It works. It works. 58 years, it works. I talk way too much. I was sorry. I get pumped. I mean, it's just, this is amazing to me that people care. It's something, and believe me, it's never been about me. I am truly blessed to ever have stumbled into being a character on this iconic show. I mean, who knew? So yeah, I'm still reaping the benefits, not in cash, by the way. So my table's out there, $20, I get to my signature. I'm kidding, that's not why. But I mean, this is such a joy to me, that, oh my gosh, I had a little piece of this. How fun is that? So yeah, you have more questions for me, or did I
I believe there's some questions out here. Does anyone have a question? You actually answered all of my questions, so thank you. Made it easy on me.
And that was the Reader's Digest version.
No, it's great. Any questions? Oh, here we go, right here.
Hi there. The music in the show, now, when they were videotaping the episodes, was that music playing in the background?
No, unfortunately, I didn't get the ambiance of the whole thing. People have asked me, things like, are you scared? It was so eerie, blah, blah, blah. I didn't get the lighting. I mean, from my perspective, I didn't get the lighting. I didn't get the music. I didn't get the whole storyline, melded together where I wasn't following. I went and did my part, so no, unfortunately. But speaking of the music, I mean, I want to say Stephen Colbert, that's not bad. I know, Bob Colbert. I told you, I'm getting old. Phenomenal music written for that show. And again, like I had said earlier, the set design is just incredible for that show. And this show was on a limited budget. This wasn't like today, not by a long shot. They didn't even know if this was going to work or not. They started the show as a more or less a regular soap opera, and then it started to get a little crazy, and that's when it really blew up. So, yeah, sorry, I didn't get the whole mood thing.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Do you still keep in touch with David Hennessy?
Yes and no. David Hennessy has not attended conventions over the years. He's done his own thing. He's a restaurateur. He lives in Panama. He has a lovely family, lots of kids. I think he may still have a place in New York City too. I'm not positive here, but anyway, recently, just within the last couple of years, I had the opportunity to do a Zoom Dark Shadows thing where there was, 6 of us together. And I got to see him, kind of as personal as you can be with a Zoom, with his kids there and the whole bit. It was very cute. I loved it. And next month, he is supposed to be at a Dark Shadows gathering in Lyndhurst, New York. Tarrytown, New York, Lyndhurst Mansion. Thank you. He is scheduled to be there, and we're hoping, because this has not really been his thing over the years, but he's older now, and maybe he'll show up. It would be very cool. I know I'm looking forward to it if he does actually show up. Yeah, cool.
Yes.
Speaking of that, obviously he was very much a seasoned professional, as many of the other.
Absolutely.
Most everybody in there was more theater performers with an exception. How was interacting with him different? Was it different from interacting with many of the adult characters? Since really a lot of your scenes were focused with them, particularly.
Different from the adults? Absolutely. However, I will say that David was the utmost professional. He was very precocious, was very intelligent, and he was a New York kid. And by that, I mean he was very independent. You know, there were plenty of times when his mom would drop him off at the studio and do whatever she was going to do, and then he would just like kind of have the run of the place. And you know, he did his job. He knew everybody's lines. He didn't just know his lines. He knew everybody's lines. He would help everybody out, the adults included. So yeah, I mean, he was a more mature than me, not a dope, but more mature than me. I was a mush. I was a little kid doing what I was told to do, you know. But it was fun work with him because he was a kid. It was my peer, more or less. Is that David's a year older than me. And we got along great. But my mom was very protective of me. If I wasn't on set or in the room where we rehearsed, I was in my dressing room. I had this little closet dressing room that was so cute. Mom said you should do schoolwork and you color and you whatever. You don't run around. This is not that. This is a job, you know? So she was very protective. I did not have to run at the place, you know? But when we were together, you know, there were occasions, and yeah, he was fun to work with. And, you know, with regard to the adults and how they worked with me personally as a child, my experience was nothing but good. There were a few actors who treated me almost like a peer. We both know I wasn't, but, you know, were very respectful of me and my work. You know, what I did, they were proud of me, they would encourage me. Nobody ever treated me like I was a piece of furniture or, you know, like W.C. Fields, you know, get the kid out of here kind of thing. Nobody ever did that to me. Everybody was kind and sweet to me. And, you know, and the bottom line was, do your job. That's care for it, you know? And that's how I treated it. It was doing job. I had fun doing it, you know, but still, I mean, you were told what to do and you did it, and that's not a bad thing, you know? So I hope that answered the question.
And I believe Ron has a special announcement you would like to make.
Uh-oh, they got the hook. They're throwing me off the street. Here it comes.
Sharon, we're so happy to have you here. We wanted to present to you some chocolates that are made locally, some really beautiful fine chocolates. And Sharon Smyth at Monster Bash. We're so happy.
I'm here all weekend, and when I go home on Monday morning, I'm back to life as I know it, and I'll be scrubbing the toilets. So thank you very much.
Sharon Smyth at Monster Bash.
Thank you for checking out this episode and hopefully sharing it with your friends online. You know, we're trying real hard to grow our presence. It really helps us when we're trying to find ways to participate in various horror events, either online or locally, or even semi-locally, national, whatever. It really helps if we can have a larger online footprint. And that only happens if you share episodes of Bride of Monster Kid Radio, if you invite people to check out our Facebook page, or send them over to our website at monsterkidradio.net. You're going to find links to everything that we talk about here on the show over there, and our contact information as well. You can find our phone number, which is, drumroll please, 360-524-2484. You can call and leave a voicemail on that voicemail line, or even send me a text if you want, or you can email me at monsterkidradio@gmail.com. I also appreciate everybody that leaves comments over on the YouTube version of the podcast, or anywhere else you download or listen to podcasts. Every time you leave a comment, a thumbs up, you share something, you tweet something, whatever, it helps us out. So thank you for doing that. We really appreciate it. Over on our website as well, you're going to find our Amazon affiliate link. So if you want to buy anything on Amazon, please consider using that Amazon affiliate link because it helps us out here in terms of keeping the show going. We also have a link to our Patreon page at patreon.com/monsterkidradio, where you can follow the show for free if you have an account on Patreon. You don't have to pay anything, but if you do, that helps us out too. You're also going to find links to, as I said earlier, The Gathering of the Ghouls, the Ray Harryhausen exhibit, just everything we got going on. Make sure you check out our website at monsterkidradio.net. Also, I haven't had it up and running lately, but I do have it up and running right now as of this recording, and I'm going to leave it going for the next few days at least. If you're in the mood for some voodoo spooky movies, head over to twitch.tv/MonsterKidRadio, because right now I'm showing movies like White Zombie, King of the Zombies, Revolt of the Zombies, Valley of the Zombies, Bowery at Midnight, Voodoo Island, a few other things as well. So those are all just playing on a huge loop right now over at twitch.tv/MonsterKidRadio. Go check that out and get your voodoo on this week. Bride of Monster Kid Radio is a Team Death production. All original content of Bride of Monster Kid Radio is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 Unported license. You can learn more about Team Death, our other projects like Death Designs, Mail Order Zombie, the Team Death YouTube channel, and more at www.teamdeath.com. Remember, death is spelled D-E-T-H. All previous episodes of this podcast, as well as the original Monster Kid Radio podcast, are available at www.monsterkidradio.net. Please rate and review Bride of Monster Kid Radio wherever you download your favorite podcasts. Devil's Dip is copyright 2021, The Garys. It appears on their album, Get Thee to a Nunnery. I don't know why I feel like I have to shout that. Get Thee to a Nunnery. You can find that over on their Bandcamp page, thegarys.bandcamp.com. That's Gary with 2 R's. Or go to thegarysband.com or look them up on Facebook or Instagram. However you look them up, check out their work. Let them know that you heard about them here on Bride of Monster Kid Radio. My name's Derek M. Cook. I'll talk to everybody next week where we'll talk about something. Ciao.